interviewer, Miss Anita Heiskell. And again, we appreciate you so very much.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I love the bookstore ever since I first found it. Remember that?
Yeah. Yes,
So,
ma'am.
thank you so much for having me. So, everybody, my name is Anita Heiskell, and I am here to moderate this conversation with my cousin, Pamela Porter. And you may hear me say Pam because that's how we go about it. But she's Pamela Porter on this book. Okay, so I want to tell you a little bit about Pamela Porter. Um, Pamela Porter's love of reading and writing began at an early age, and it grew alongside a 35-year career as an elementary school teacher, where she inspired young readers and writers daily. Beyond the classroom, she treasures life with her husband, their children, and her role as Gigi of three. Pamela enjoys writing, traveling, Bible study, and quiet moments with her tea, books, and her journals. In Walking in Grace, Pamela shares her deeply personal testimony of faith, healing, and the power of his promises during her chronic illness and life-threatening diagnosis. This book is written for anyone searching for comfort and hope for their own life struggles or those of loved ones. So this is going to be a great discussion, and it's kind of personal because this book, as family, we lived it. We kind of know what actually happened and when it was going. And so I just want to share a couple of other things. So Pamela and I are cousins through marriage. So her husband, Ralph Porter, and my husband, Michael Heiskell, are first cousins, but they were raised as brothers and they still live as brothers. So Pam and I have known each other now, I think I'm going to say 27 years. So we are cousins by marriage, but very close. Also, I just want to go ahead and start out, Pam. The first thing I want to talk about is you say that you knew that you were a writer from the time you picked up those crayons in that Crayola box. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, when your parents are educators and I had access to crayons and paper at the house, but I also spent a lot of time in my mom's classroom. Yeah. And I'm sure part of that was just to keep me busy. She would give me crayons and a piece of paper, and I'd get down on the floor. And she taught fifth grade. So the things that she was writing and on the board or preparing lessons and doing things obviously did not apply to me as a small child, but I thought it did. I thought I understood every bit of it. So I started just trying to copy things literally from the board. This was old school chalkboard. There were no Promethean boards or any of those things. So that's kind of where this idea of me and the crayons and seeing that as writing, not just necessarily scribbling for color on a piece of paper.
So tell us a little bit about where you were born and raised, and did you come from a family of educators?
I was born in Corsicana, Texas, the big city of Corsicana, and it's about 15 miles from my hometown of Kearns. And it's not Hearn, because a lot of people, when I say Kearns, think I'm referring to Hearn, which is down by College Station. Kearns, Kerens, is right off of I-45, just a little east of Corsicana. And if you blink, you miss it, and you definitely miss the one blinking light in the middle of town. 1,400 people, small town, and yes, I was in a family of educators. My father was an ag teacher, an agricultural teacher, before he got his administrative degree and went on to be a elementary school principal. And then my mother taught fifth grade, and she taught me one of those years. So, and not only that, but I had aunts, her siblings, who were teachers. It was in my genes. And no matter how much I tried to fight it, they even encouraged me to pursue something else in college. They're like, don't be a teacher just because we are. And so I tried. There was just something in me.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're okay. There was something in me, though, for that one semester that I was a journalism major, And that one semester that I was a business major, and I hated it, just hated it. So I went with, what was in my genes and what came
You
naturally.
didn't have a choice, did you? It
Not
just
really.
came on. Okay, let's jump into the book, Walking in Grace. And this is such a touching book. For me, reading it, it was like my husband read it straight through. But I had to stop a little bit and cry a little bit as I went. So it was very touching. But Pam, tell us what inspired you to write Walking in Grace.
Well, here's the thing. When God tells you to do something, you do it, or you certainly should do it. And that was kind of this situation. After I went through this life-threatening illness and he healed me, I was very selfish. I held on to that testimony that he gave me. It was so precious to me. It was just like the biggest gift, more than I could have ever imagined. And so basically, Ralph and I were the only ones that knew the story. And like I said, selfishly, I loved that. It was just something I could always hold on to. But God kept nudging. He kept nudging, and he kept telling me basically, I didn't give you this story for you to sit on it. The point in this testimony was to share it with other people. And knowing that he had given me the gift of writing, he said, I need you to write my story.
So, Pam, did you ever think, sharing that story, did you ever think of sharing it another way besides writing a book? Did you ever think about just going out and speaking on it instead of writing the book?
For a moment, but for those of you who know me, family wise, yes, that would be family laughter. Those of you who know me personally, you know that, as the kids used to say, that's not really my jam, or it wasn't. So getting up and doing public speaking was not something that would have been my number one go-to. Whereas writing came so natural.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I could put it down in words.
Okay. So you're telling us about this health scare that you went through and how you handled it. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. But tell us, why did you write this book and why did you title it Walking in Grace?
Well, I chose the title because the more I thought about even the possibility of writing the book, again, as he's constantly nudging me, the more I thought about that, I realized that I had been walking in grace the entire time. And when I say the entire time, I mean my whole life. When I got to thinking about, well, what exactly would I include in the book, I even reflected back to my childhood, to everything. And it made me realize that grace wasn't something that was a destination I was going toward. It was actually the fact that he was walking with me throughout my entire life. So that's kind of where the idea of walking in grace for a title came to me.
So how many years were you an educator?
35.
35 years. And so do you think those 35 years, aside from your parents and how they pushed you with the writing and things like that, aside from that, do you think those 33 years of being an educator, do you think that has something to do with the writing part?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In two ways. One of those being that as a teacher, I taught first grade almost all of that 35, except for 2 years. I was a first grade teacher. And my biggest love was reading and writing. So I focused a lot on that in the classroom because I loved it. So I wanted my students to love it. And so we did lots of special reading days and we made a big thing about journals, and that was just a big emphasis in my classroom. And also the kids taught me something for number two, that they taught me after that many years of working with little ones, a way that I felt like I needed to approach this book, which was, if you're not real with kids, they can read you like a book and they will call you out on it. So I knew that when it came down to writing this book, it had to be real, raw, transparent, or I didn't feel like the reader would take me seriously.
Right.
So a lot of that I learned from 6-year-olds.
Okay, so when you decided that you were going to put this on pen and paper, did you think about where am I going to write this? Am I going to be at home? Am I going to go to an office? Am I going to go to a coffee shop? So, what was your ritual in getting this thing going?
I didn't think about it too much ahead of time. I just, because in my mind, once I prayed about it, I told Ralph, I was like, I'm going to write this book. You know, I, I just thought, I just need to get on it. I just need to get started. So initially, I just opened up my laptop and at the house and just started writing. And it didn't take me long to realize that there are too many distractions. Even though we're empty nesters, it's just the two of us at the house and it's quiet most of the time. Even with that, I would start a load of laundry and then I would sit down. Okay, I'm going to write now. Buzz, buzz. The laundry, the washer would go off. Time to switch the clothes. It was just always something where I was distracted at the house. So that was what led me to packing up my little tote bag and heading to the local coffee shop. And when I got there, again, everything about this book is a God thing. The fact that I even, that He chose me to write it, but even something as simple as where I wrote it, because I wrote 90% of the book at the same coffee shop. Those ladies, they became like family. They really did. And because it was such a welcoming environment, they figured out, they thought I was a work from home, professional. And I was like, oh no, I'm working on a book. So then they kind of got into it. They encouraged me and made it very inviting and comfortable. So I spent most of my time, about at least 3 to 4 days out of every week. I would be there from right after they opened until they closed middle of the afternoon.
Okay, Pam, let's talk a little bit about what's in this book and what got you there. So you had a health scare, and I want you to kind of go into that and then share with us how did prayer help you to get through that situation?
Okay. My initial health issue that really slowed me down or changed my lifestyle wasn't the life-threatening one, but it was a life-changing one. And that came when my daughter Lauren and I, she talked me into, coerced me, which, as I say in the book, all it took was for her to say, it'll be a mother-daughter thing. And I was like, okay, I'm in. But we did the Susan G. Komen 3-day walk, which is.
You did that 2 years, didn't you?
Yes, we did 2 years in a row. Right. 2 years in a row. And for anyone who doesn't know about that, it's 3 days walking 20 miles each day. And it's to raise money and funds, for breast cancer research and that kind of thing. And the first year of that was, it took a lot of training on my part because she's so much younger. It was nothing to her, but I had to get myself ready. But the training went smoothly and we had a great time. It was a wonderful mother-daughter experience. Everything about it was wonderful. And even my recovery afterwards was within a week or less than a week, I was back to my normal workout routine. And then the second year, I noticed things were a little different. Training was much harder. I just could not push myself and get to where I felt I was along the way from the year before. And surely enough, by the time we were able to finish that second year, but it was a struggle. It was a real struggle. And by the time I got home from the second one, I knew something was not right at all. I could not even walk. I was crawling. Ralph, my husband Ralph, was out of town at the time, and I called him and I said, listen, I don't know what's going on, but I was crawling from the bed to the bathroom and back. And that's all I could do. So he got home, rushes me to the doctor. After a lot of testing and things, they diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. And fibromyalgia is a diagnosis that is very misunderstood, mainly because most of the symptoms are completely invisible. I'm sitting here looking at you right now, and you don't know that my back is killing me, or that my head is about to explode, or that the lights in here I'm very sensitive to and it's making me nervous or anxious. It's those kinds of things. So that ended up being life changing. I had to give up I was a hardcore boot camper when it came to working out and loved it. I had to give up all of that and basically change my lifestyle. So during that time, my prayer life increased a lot. I'm just like everybody else, it's easy to praise God when things are going great. But when they're not, you think, oh, why me? And you ask all those questions because we're human. And I did that too. I'm going to be honest, and I talk about that in the book. Um, so I had to get a lot more serious about my relationship with God, including a lot more prayer time and Bible study and things like that. And when I look back on that now, I realize that in that initial diagnosis that slowed me down, and I instead of being up at 5 o'clock to work out, I was getting up to spend time with God, to pray and to do Bible study. And I see now that was preparing me and deepening my faith for what was to come with my second diagnosis. The second one was liver failure. I had no idea. I had never had any kind of an issue with my liver my entire life. Had no idea at all that anything was going on. And we were in the middle of helping to plan Lauren and Quentin's wedding. And I was very busy and was pushing myself. But I didn't think I had any, besides, I knew the fibro that I was in pain. But there's times when it's worth it, which sounds kind of crazy. But I say that to say, if you give in to every symptom with fibro, you'll never get out of bed. So if there's some things that just need to happen in your life and that you want to do, like, planning your child's wedding, that I pushed through. And I thought that all of the symptoms I was feeling was the fibro, but it was not. And God bless Ralph, who kept saying and nagging, and Pam, something's wrong. Something is really wrong. Because I'm watching you get weaker and weaker by the day. And he insisted, you have to go to the doctor. And I am stubborn, and he knows that. To which my reply was, I'll go on April the 8th.
After the wedding.
Because the wedding was April the 2nd. I said, I'll go to the doctor afterwards. I'll go to the Mayo Clinic. Mm-hmm. But not until then. So that second diagnosis ended up being the one that was life-threatening. And the way that I knew it was at that point, or that something was way beyond my fibromyalgia, was I literally collapsed on my kitchen floor, and Ralph had to rush me to the hospital. And that's when all of this, the next part of the journey began.
Mm-hmm. So I want to introduce Ralph and Pam's daughter, Lauren, and her husband, Quentin, and where's the grandbaby? So this is the wedding that Pam was planning, and actually during that time, she almost didn't make it to the wedding. The doctors had said she probably wouldn't make it, but she ended up making it. She was a few pounds lighter, a little pasty, and a little tired, but she made it there. And let's talk a little bit about that day, because remember that day, it was cold and an outdoor wedding, and it just turned cold immediately. Mm-hmm. But you still made it. So kind of share with us a little bit of how that felt with you to actually be there, thinking that you weren't going to be able to attend.
There's hardly words for that. It gives me chills right now to even think about it, because at one point, before I was actually there, well, basically from the time I got to the hospital in Fort Worth, I was begging my doctor, and kept saying, you got to figure this out, because my daughter's getting married April 7th, and I got to be there. And he was like, ma'am, we don't let people out on day passes. You don't get to just, because I said, if I could just go for a few hours, I said, I'll come back. Just give me a day release or a few hours. And they're like, that's not how this works. And I don't think you understand the seriousness of your situation. So as a mother, I don't think you understand the seriousness of me being at my daughter's wedding. So I felt very defeated up until literally until the doctor finally came in with basically the way he um, told me he was going to release me from the hospital. I mean, discharge me, was he said, "So, feel like going to your daughter's wedding?" Of course, I cried. And then when it came down to the day, it was very surreal because I just did not think it was going to happen. First of all, I mean, they had told Ralph that he wasn't taking me home from the hospital alive without a transplant. So I didn't even think I would be alive. And then to think that not only am I alive, but I'm going to get to be at the wedding. So yes, it was one of the most impactful days of my life.
I can only imagine. Now, with you having gone through a life-changing event, and then you went through a life-threatening event, how did those two things shape your faith? And how do you live now through that?
They definitely had let's see, what adjective can I think of to put in front of the word impact for this one? Because, yeah, huge is all I can come up with, or amazing, or whatever. But yeah, those things have changed me in a lot of ways, and I think even my family will see that and recognize that, because to say that you believe God's promises. First of all, if you know God, and you read the Bible, and you say that you believe his promises, and even when you hear other people's stories of they might have needed money, and then suddenly someone walks up and says, "I just feel this need to give you this money right now." That yes, God comes through in unexpected ways and through unexpected people and situations, but believing something before is one thing, but when you have literally lived and seen him deliver on those promises, it changes it. It goes from the way I believe to the way I live it out every day.
So my next question is, a lot of people go through a lot of things, but those people don't share. A lot of things we kind of hold in, and we don't share those things with people. You have put it out there. You have shared it. You go out, you've written a book about it, you talk about it. How has that impacted your life?
It's been different than I expected. I was nervous about that part. I really was. That part took a lot of prayer. Because like I said, writing, that's my comfort zone. So that part I was very much at ease with. Once I made the commitment to do it, then I enjoyed every minute of that. But the whole time, the closer I got toward the end of the book, I kept thinking, oh my goodness, now what? Now people are going to read every single one of these words, and the humanness, is there. And I worried about judgment. I worried about whether people would believe it or not. And basically, God was like, I just asked you to write the book. I will handle the rest. Yeah, don't you worry about any of that. You just write the story that I gave you. And I'll handle getting the book into the hands of the people who need it. And I'll shape, their mind, and I will deal with them on a personal basis. It wasn't my job to convert them by writing the book. So what have I gotten out of it after having written it? I've been humbled by stories that I have heard when I interact at events like this. People come up and share things that just break me. And we have cried, we've cried together over things. whether it be about themselves or the family or friends. And another part that, besides being humbled, the second thing that I would say the biggest effect it has had on me is what I mentioned. It refers back to kind of what I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, was that for those who know me, who say, you don't go hand Pam a microphone. That's not, she's not doing that. Yeah. I have found a, a confidence and a boldness throughout this process. And if I had written any other book, I don't know that I would have it. If I'd written a fiction novel, and that is not to, that's in no way, to look down on fiction. I read fiction books all the time. But what I'm saying is, this was such a God thing that, again, he just asked me to write it. And he has given me the confidence to sit here with you right now.
Okay, because we know you're not the one that wants to get up and speak. You're not the one that wants to be out front. And I noticed this like step out, come out in you, and I love it. So, Pam, who needs this book? Who needs to read it?
I would say anyone who is looking for hope, who's looking for strength, who's maybe even feeling alone or not understood, because those are the things that this book offers. And it doesn't have to be in reference to illness. Your situation may be about something else when you read the book, but there are things in the book that I think still would offer you hope and strength, and to remind you that you're not in it alone, whatever your journey is, that God is right there with you.
Okay, I want you, Pam, to give me something specific that you would say to someone that comes to you. They're hopeless, they're discouraged, they're down, they may be going through a life-threatening illness such as you. What would you say to them?
Don't give up. Don't stop praying. Keep the faith. It's not your timing, it's His. And the bottom line is, God is still in the healing business.
Pam, is this your first book?
Yes, it is.
And it was your first book and it just came to you?
Absolutely, it did. Because, my editor told me when I submitted the manuscript to her, and you add the file on the email, but in the body of the email, basically, I said, I'm new at this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting you to probably rip it apart, as an editor. And I'm okay with that, because I'm not schooled in editing. I write. And she basically, came back to me and she said, listen, I'm going to read this. And yes, I will help you with the tiny details, but she said, there's nobody that knows your story better than you do. It's your story.
So, Pam, what I would like for you to do now is I would like for you to read an excerpt for us so that you can share that with us and just let us know what's so wonderful in this book. So we're going to let you go for that.
Okay. I actually have two.
Okay.
The first one is the beginning of the book, chapter 1, 7 little words. The monotonous drone of the television filled my hospital room, serving as the soundtrack to a test of my patience and faith. What's wrong with me, God? I'd convinced myself that things weren't as bad as they seemed, but now I am afraid. God, I need you. Dr. Willis's entrance interrupted my prayerful thoughts. With no hesitation, he began explaining my test results, but I heard nothing after these 7 life-changing words. He said, there is nothing we can do for you here. His jarring words struck me like a freight train barreling toward the intersection of hope and reality. Time moves forward, whether we're ready or not. But in this moment, I felt like heaven was holding its breath. Fear crept up my spine, tightening every muscle before reaching my tense jaws and grinding teeth. Dr. Willis's pronouncement left me stunned and gasping for a breath of hope. Lying there in silence, I clung to my husband Ralph's hand as if it were the only solid thing in the room. His grip had steadied me throughout our marriage, in good times and the hardest of times, but tonight was different. We'd waited so long for answers about why my body was failing me and whether the solid ground under our feet was about to shift forever. Nothing we can do for you here. And then the other one that I would like to share is, is in chapter 17. The chapter is called In the Details. And this part was written during the time I was in the hospital in Fort Worth, and Easter came along. Again, getting pretty close to that wedding date at the same time. And you know, Anita, and family that's here knows that there's very few holidays that we don't spend together. If we can possibly, when I say we, I don't mean Ralph and I and our immediate family, but I mean extended family also. That's just always been something that we've done. So even the idea of me being in the hospital and Ralph being there to support me during that time, it was an added stressor on top of being so sick, but just the fact that we were not with family like we normally would have been to celebrate Easter. So this is what I wrote. Before I realized it, Easter arrived. It was our first major holiday spent in a hospital. We traditionally gathered with immediate and extended family on holidays. This year was cloaked in faith, fear, hope, and change. No matter what, though, Jesus' resurrection would not pass without honor and praise. On the other hand, my fibro brain dreaded the day in advance. The barrage of well-meaning visitors, coupled with overstimulation issues and sensitivities, had me praying for a quiet, reflective day. When Ralph went downstairs Easter morning to grab some breakfast, God met him with another plan. He noticed a flyer for Easter services scheduled at the hospital. One service was about to begin, so he texted me explaining that he was going to attend if I was okay by myself. I rarely was alone, so I encouraged him to go ahead and attend the service. Against all odds, I drifted into one of the best naps I'd had in weeks. Lulled by the monitor's beeps, I rested like I used to under the summer breezes of grandmother's screened-in porch. I was awakened by Ralph's return. He shared that he had actually attended 2 services. Joy filled my heart knowing that he had the opportunity to spend time with God and worship him. Ralph asked me about my rest. The realization hit me that I had slept for over 2 hours. I wondered if sleeping longer was a sign of something good or bad. Before Ralph could help me freshen up and get dressed, Dr. Ash and his hepatology team filled the room. At this point, your liver numbers are fluctuating. Some are pushing the top of the safe range, while most of them are going up and down within the danger zone. Ralph interjected. How much danger are we talking about, doctor? His eyes were on me, and so were Dr. Ash's. Miss Porter, your overall numbers are not promising. Your prognosis is grim. As of now, UNOS has not found an available liver match, but we will continue to monitor their responses. Silence engulfed us as Dr. Ash left the room. Clutching Ralph's hands even tighter, tears of acceptance streamed down my cheeks to my pillow. Ralph's heartbeat pounded against my chest as we embraced. No words, only love and faith. No Easter bunnies or egg hunts on our minds. This Easter Sunday's focus would be exactly where it should be, celebrating Jesus' resurrection and power on the cross and hope in Him.
Beautiful. So Pam, with all of that being said, how is your health today?
I'm doing great. I am. I still struggle with fibromyalgia because that is a chronic illness. It's not going anywhere. So there's that. But it just is what it is, and I do the best I can with it. But as far as my liver, I am still monitored, and I have to tell you that since the day I left the hospital, we began with blood tests to check my liver multiple times a week. And then we stretched it out to once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month. From the day I left the hospital until this day, my liver numbers have been perfect. Perfect.
Pam, this has been a great discussion and I love it. And I hope that everyone here will purchase the book and not only purchase it, but read it. So I would like to open the floor up for any questions for Pam, if anyone has any questions for her at this time. Yes.
Hey, Pam, how long did it take you to write the book?
In total, I would say about 15 or 16 months. It was a while. And not that when I talked about my routine of going to the coffee shop for most weeks, it was like at least 4 days out of the week. Yes, that was the weekly routine, but life happens. And there were some of those weeks where I had sick grandchildren or I was sick or just different things were going on, so that some of those weeks I didn't make it to the coffee shop or didn't have a chance to write at all. So you put all that together and it ended up being about 15, 16 months.
Okay.
And that was my writing part. That was just for me to get the manuscript to submit to the editors. Then there was that process and the publisher and all of that. So it's I know people that do it and that write books within weeks or a month. That just wasn't my journey.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Lauren, I'd like to ask you a question. This is Pam's daughter, the wedding that she thought she wasn't going to make it to. Lauren, can you tell us what were you and Quentin's thoughts about possibly not having your mom in attendance for that special day?
I tried to cancel.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I tried to cancel a couple times and they told me no.
Mhm.
I just didn't want my mom not. They were like, "We'll put her on the iPad." I did not care. I wanted her to be physically there. So I don't know, we have a different, our relationship's really close. I just feel like I needed her. Oh my God.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. But and one last question for you too. How has it changed you and Quentin's life and the way you guys live and how you feel about things? Did it change anything for you? And Quentin, please jump in if you would like to.
So as she actually mentioned, she tried to cancel the wedding, and of course we ran into some hiccups there. I don't know why. I feel like Rob would have been perfectly fine paying for another wedding. But no. It brought us closer because I already knew that even if she was there, she wasn't going to come down the aisle without her mom being there, and I just accepted that. And as time has gone on, there have been other things that affect her, whether it's family related or other things that are related. Other things outside of family. And it's helped me understand her way of thinking. And also it's helped temper my persuasion to her or efforts in that for certain things. Because ultimately it doesn't matter if everything goes and everything goes through and we fulfilled whatever the goal was. If she's not happy, then it doesn't make me happy. It's kind of pointless at the end of it. So but the other thing I was also going to say about this book, I hadn't read it in a couple of weeks, a month now. But there's a point in there where she talks about walking with grandmother Sadie. And I don't know about y'all. I don't know if everybody has read it, but there's a lot of different things that she goes through that I feel like a lot of people can just relate to. Some of the fondest memories I have of my grandmother is walking around the lake up in Lubbock with her. So as I was reading through that and learning about how grandmother Sadie is, it just started hitting me home a little bit and thinking about my grandmother. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you as well and just let you know that a lot of what you're talking about is just so relatable.
It is relatable, and being family and being close and having lived it and know what it's about, it's really touching. And no matter how many times you hear the story, it still is very heart wrenching. And so at this time, Pam has books, and if you would like to purchase them, if you would like to have her sign them or get some photographs with her, we'd be very happy to do that. And Pam, do you have any closing words that you would like to share with everyone?
Sure. I'd like to thank everybody, first of all, for being here and supporting me. And it's, bottom line is, it's not about me, it's about God. So, and that was the whole point in me writing the book. And so I hope that if you do choose to buy the book, that you find something in it that touches you or encourages you in some way. And I'd also like to thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Because I couldn't have I didn't choose. Wait a minute. Let me take that word out of there. Anita was gracious enough to volunteer, and I wouldn't have known who to choose anyway. And the bottom line is, you made this so easy, because we know
We
each
know
other.
each other.
Yeah, it's so much easier, and you know me. I was like, you're going to get me through this one way or the other.
And you're so humble, and you did a great job, and we are all very proud of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Pamela Porter. Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys.
Are available for sale. Books are available at the front counter. Again, oh, she has stickers. She didn't tell you about the stickers. The stickers are cute.
Love
They're-
sticker.
Yes, yes. Okay. Oh, and we have a drawing. We have a drawing, you guys. She's gonna do the drawing now. Before everybody leaves. Okay. Stay. There she is, right there. Stay.
All right, so it is Roy Sagler.
Roy Sagler. You win. So she has a beautiful bag for you. That's beautiful. Yeah. Here. Oh, everywhere you do it everywhere.
What's your fan to be better?
Okay.
There you go. Well, where's the bag?
Where is the thing?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
Oh my goodness.
I'm back.
Yes, I'm.
In the meeting. Diane.
Yeah, were they?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't seen, now that you said it.
I want to get a picture before y'all put the phone back. Oh, that's right. You know.
Hey, Bob.
Bring it out.
Thank you for being here, man. Appreciate the support.
Okay, so we're gonna take a picture.
Okay, man. Awesome.
Again, when you start back here. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can replace that.
Oh, really? Y'all was on the. Yeah, we went.
Yeah.
So we got this.
Down 35.
One night.
Yes.
They got,
Here's some photos.
I didn't see that. I thought.
I have a picture of them with him safe in place when the boy was like 10 years old. Really? Yes. Take it back. I'm sorry.
They don't know what kind of brain you got. They're all that sketchy.
Now, sure, y'all stand.
I'm on my 30.
One hold the board.
Nice.
And then you go on the other side. Good.